Alright, we're starting here with question 20, and it says based on table 1 and experiment 2, so that's going to be our first step, as we know that we're looking at those. If 3 milliliters of TEL were added, so we need to know what that does, were added to a mixture of 100 milliliters of heptane, 100 milliliters of heptane and 900 milliliters of isooctane, we need to know what that's about. The octane number of the resulting fuel would most likely be, so 5 is number of the resulting fuel, the octane number. And we have less than 55, we have 55 to 90, 90 to 125, or greater than 125. Alright, so when it asks you to look at a table in an experiment, there's information in both of them that we'll need. So let's start with table 1, and so we found table 1, and it tells us that we have a mixture of 100 milliliters of heptane. So we have 100 milliliters of heptane and 900 milliliters of isooctane. In this table 1, it tells us right here that different proportions of heptane and isooctane were mixed to obtain mixtures with octane numbers between 0 and 100. So if we've got 100 to 900 here, right? That matches with this value here. This is 10 to 90, which is exactly the same. 100 to 900 is the same as 10 to 90. So that value is 90. So we know that that's it, and it's kind of, before they add anything to it, the octane level is going to be 90 with this kind of mixture. A 10 to 90 mixture is going to give us 90. And we know that's one of the values here. So we can get rid of F and we can get rid of J, because 90 needs to be in the answer. So now we have the second part of it. It asks us to go to experiment 2. And then it says if 3 milliliters of TEL were added to this mixture, what would happen? So in experiment 2 it says adding this TEL to a fuel changes its octane number. Different amounts of TEL were added to 1000 milliliter samples of isooctane. So that's what happened here. This is the volume of the TEL added, and this is the octane number. And this is for 1000 milliliters of isooctane. What do we have? We've got 900 milliliters of iso and 100 of heptane. So it's going to be pretty much, what this graph shows us. For 1000 milliliters of pure isooctane, we just have a little bit, a ninth of heptane in it. So it's going to be pretty close to whatever happens here is going to be pretty close to what would happen with this mixture of 900 milliliters of isooctane and 100 heptane, because the majority of it, the great majority, 90% of it is isooctane. So what happens when we add the TEL, 3 milliliters, right? Here it is, these TEL by milliliters. We add 3, the value is about 125. So, that's for 1000 milliliters of pure isooctane. So if we've got 900 milliliters, it may be a little bit less, but it's not going to be much. So we know our numbers we're dealing with is it's at least 90, and then it's around about 125. Those are the two numbers that we're dealing with. And if we come back to our answer choices, we see that we find that answer choice in H. It says it's between 90 and 125, and there we are. That was a little bit involved. It's a wee bit harder than most of the questions in ACT Science, but again, if you just kind of work through it step by step, you should get to, you've narrowed it down to 2 pretty quickly, and then it's not too much of a step to get to the right answer of H.